Tonight's story is about a memory that will make you rethink the safety of your own home and question how well you really know the world outside your window. A simple night of watching TV turned into a chilling encounter that would haunt a young child for years. So, make yourself comfortable, dim the lights, and prepare yourself for The Man in the Tree. When I was very young, my parents were cool about letting me stay up late on weekends. While my sister was a light sleeper, I had free reign over the living room, watching Nick at night until my eyes grew heavy. I'd stay up as late as I could, the glow of the TV, the only light in the room. Eventually, though, I'd fall asleep on the couch, the comfort of familiar shows lulling me into slumber. But that night was different. I woke up suddenly, a prickly feeling crawling up my spine. It wasn't a normal waking up moment, it was instinct. Something was wrong. My body just shot up into a sitting position, my eyes darting to the window. We lived in rural Georgia, surrounded by trees as far as the eye could see, the kind of trees that made the woods feel endless and mysterious. In the moonlight, I saw something I'll never forget, a silhouette, high up in one of those trees. My heart stopped, my stomach dropped. I didn't know what I was looking at, but I knew it wasn't right. And then, the dog, our family dog, a big, brave animal, suddenly ran to the window, fur bristling, teeth bared. He started snarling, his breath fogging up the glass as he growled at the figure outside. That's when I lost it. I ran into my parents' room, shaking. I tried to explain, but words were hard to form. I stammered out something about a person outside, in the tree. They didn't waste time. My dad grabbed something defensive and with the dogs. He ran outside to confront whoever or whatever was out there. My mom held me tightly, trying to calm me down. I didn't feel safe. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew something wasn't right. The minutes stretched on, feeling like hours, as we waited for my dad to return. Finally, my dad came back in, empty-handed. He said there was no one there, no sign of anyone, no tracks, no strange movement in the trees. He told me to go back to bed. I decided to sleep in my regular bedroom after that. The comfort of my own room should have been enough to calm my nerves. I told my sister what happened, but she just brushed it off. Dad was doing his usual rounds through the house, holding his cup of coffee like he always did. I thought I was finally safe. The adrenaline was wearing off, and I could almost convince myself it was just my imagination playing tricks. Maybe it was, but then I saw him again. This time I noticed him outside my bedroom window. The man, I couldn't see much in the dark, but in the moonlight, I could make out enough. He was standing there, staring up at me through the glass. My heart pounded. My blood turned to ice. Then, something even worse happened. He raised his finger to his lips like a shush and, without a word, he turned and ran. Not away from the house, not into the trees, but running in a straight line down the driveway, heading off into the night like he knew I was watching. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't stop shaking. For what felt like hours, I just cried into my pillow, too scared to look out the window again, too terrified to close my eyes. What had I seen? Who was that man? And why had he been up in the tree in the first place? I didn't tell anyone about what I saw that night, not until years later. Maybe it was the fear that kept me quiet, or maybe I just didn't want to admit that something so terrifying had happened. To this day, I don't know who or what he was. Some part of me wants to believe it was just a bad dream, but another part knows the truth that what I saw was real. And the worst part, I'll never know why he was there, why he was watching, why he stood in that tree like he was waiting for something, or someone. It was a warm summer night, and I decided to go for a bike ride with a friend. We were just looking to kill some time, nothing special, just the kind of ride that feels nice in the cool night air. We parted ways around midnight, and I had about 2 blocks left to ride by myself. The streets were eerily quiet, dead quiet, like something was missing. No cars, no people, just the hum of the city in the distance. Because of some construction, I had to ride on the sidewalk, which was already narrow, but that wasn't a big deal. Until I reached the corner where I was about to turn left onto my street. That's when I saw him, a man walking by himself, maybe in his 40s, a little scruffy, but not homeless, just strange. I wasn't sure what it was exactly, but something about him seemed off. The sidewalk was too narrow to pass without getting too close to him, so I decided to call out, "Hey, behind you," I shouted, trying to warn him that I was coming up. He turned around, and the moment our eyes met, something in his expression shifted. His face twisted into an angry, almost violent glare. I didn't want to make a scene, so I quickly turned down my street, but that's when it started. He started yelling at me, screaming horrible things. "You fucking cunt," he shouted. "I'm going to kill you." My blood ran cold. I pedaled faster, trying to get away, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was very, very wrong. I live right at the corner, but I didn't want him to know that. I couldn't let him know where I lived, not after the way he was acting. So, I did the only thing I could think of. Evie turned around and looped back around the block. The streets were still empty, just the sound of my tires on the pavement. But when I turned the corner, I looked down the street, and there he was, standing on my fucking front stoop. He wasn't moving, just staring out at the street, like he was waiting for something, or someone. I froze. He saw me ride by again, but this time, he didn't say anything. I didn't know what to do. My heart was pounding in my chest. I knew I had to get away from him, but I also couldn't risk him knowing where I lived. The whole situation felt wrong. I didn't want to stick around to see what he would do next, so I did the only thing I could think of. I went back to my friend's house. It was the safest choice, but as I made my way back, I couldn't shake the feeling that he was still watching me. 2 days later, my bike was stolen, right from the alleyway by my house. I didn't immediately connect the two events, but the timing was too close to ignore. The thing that freaked me out the most wasn't that I'd encountered a random angry guy in the streets. It wasn't even that he'd followed me or knew where I lived. No, it was the fact that he seemed so normal, almost too normal. I live in an area with a large population of mentally ill people, so at first, I chalked it up to that. But this guy, he didn't seem homeless or disheveled. He looked like anyone you might pass on the street, but there was something about him, something that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. After the bike was stolen, I texted my mom, and she decided it was best not to notify the authorities yet, considering the circumstances. But even now, I can't shake that feeling. The feeling that maybe, just maybe, that man had been following me longer than I thought. I still wonder what would have happened if I hadn't looped around the block. What would have happened if I hadn't kept my distance? So, what's the lesson here? Trust your instincts, especially when they're telling you something's off. And maybe, just maybe, never ride your bike alone at midnight, because you never know who might be watching, or waiting. Two years ago, I was driving home late at night after a family reunion, the kind of event where you catch up, laugh, and eat too much. But now I was on the road, driving alone, and the clock was ticking. The road stretched out before me like a never-ending tunnel. 2 hours to go, winding through dense forests and thick bushes, the kind of place you see in horror movies, where you know nothing good is going to happen after dark. As the minutes passed, the fatigue began to creep in. You know that feeling, when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you're hit with an overwhelming wave of exhaustion. That's what happened. I knew I was running on empty, but I hadn't seen any safe place to pull over and rest. It was around 11:22 p.m. when I finally admitted to myself that I was too tired to keep going. But there were no gas stations, no rest areas, just the dark trees and the occasional car passing by. I knew I couldn't risk falling asleep at the wheel, so I made a choice that, looking back, was questionable. I pulled my car over onto the shoulder of the road, tucked away behind some thick bushes. I figured, no one will see me here, it'll be fine. I'll just close my eyes for a few minutes. I glanced at the clock one last time, 11:22. Then, I closed my eyes, hoping I could get a quick rest. But, I don't know how long it was before I was woken up by a scratching sound. You know that feeling when something just isn't right? I felt it immediately. The sound was faint at first, almost like something or someone was dragging its nails across the side of my car. I looked at the clock, 11:50. The noise stopped after a few seconds, but I was still so tired. So, I closed my eyes again, thinking it was just an animal or something. But then, it happened again. This time, I woke up to the same scratching sound. It didn't stop. I looked at the clock, 12:40. Almost an hour later. Why would an animal come back? And why did it keep scratching? My mind raced as I considered my options. I reluctantly glanced into the rearview mirror and saw something in the distance, moving away quickly into the forest. Something running. For a moment, my mind went straight to a place I didn't want to go. You know that urban legend about the hook-handed killer who scratches cars? The one where the guy goes to check it out, and he ends up dead. Yeah, that one. I couldn't take it anymore. My heart pounded as I slammed the car into gear, pulling back onto the road. One had to get out of there. But as I rounded a bend 100 yards down the road, I froze. There, parked off to the side of the road, was a car. The driver's side door was wide open. I slowed down instinctively, trying to get a glimpse of who or what was inside. Nothing. The car was empty. But as I checked the rearview mirror, something else caught my eye. A figure, no, a man, came sprinting around the corner, full speed, yelling, screaming at me. Hey you, get the fuck out of your car now. My blood ran cold. My mind screamed at me to drive, to get the hell out of there. I didn't think, I just hit the gas. I floored it, speeding away from that man, not daring to look back. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. The only sound now was the roar of the engine and the thumping of my pulse in my ears. But when I glanced back one last time, I didn't see the man anymore. It was like he had vanished into thin air. I never saw him again after that. The man, the car, it all disappeared. But I couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't just some random guy. Something about that situation didn't sit right with me. The more I thought about it, the more I wondered, what if that car wasn't just abandoned? What if the man hadn't been trying to warn me? What if he was just waiting for someone like me to pull over? And then, I realized something else. Maybe he wasn't the only one out there. So, what's the lesson here? The obvious one. Don't pull over and sleep on a deserted road in the middle of nowhere, especially when you're too tired to think straight. But there's something more, something deeper. Sometimes things aren't always what they seem. And sometimes, the ones we think we're running from are the ones who are watching us the closest. A few years ago, I decided to take a walk through the woods. Nothing special, just one of those days where you want to escape from the noise of life, clear your mind, and find some peace. But this wasn't just any walk, it was off the beaten track. A little more isolated, a place where the trees closed in tight, blocking out most of the light, and the only sounds you could hear were your own footsteps crunching on the forest floor. At first, everything seemed normal. The air was fresh, the scent of pine was in the air. Then I caught something else. A sweet, overpowering smell, like rotting flowers. At first I thought maybe it was some strange flower or plant nearby, but it was so strong, it felt wrong. Curiosity got the better of me, as it often does. I pushed through the undergrowth to see if I could find the source of the smell. And then, I saw it. A body. It was clear the man had been there for some time. His body had swollen, turning a sickly shade of green and black. There were runny bits, parts of him that no longer looked human. Nature having done its work with the local wildlife. They'd feasted well, it seemed. My heart raced, but I did what anyone would do in that moment. I pulled out my phone and called the police. As I waited for them to arrive, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. It was the middle of nowhere, so it took them a while to get there. In the meantime, I sat there with him, in the dark, by myself. The air grew cold as the daylight quickly faded away. The smell of death, thick in the air, seemed to grow stronger in the growing silence. Every crack of a branch in the distance made my heart race. I kept thinking to myself, this is what happens when you let your curiosity get the better of you. When the police finally arrived, They confirmed what I feared. The man had committed suicide. He'd chosen this place, alone, to end his life. They told me to stay back and let them handle everything. But part of me couldn't let go of the image of him there, of the way he looked, swollen and dark, with eyes that were no longer there, yet felt like they were still watching. After that day, I tried to move on, but I couldn't shake the feeling. The body, the smell, the emptiness in his expression, it haunted me. And soon, the dream started. At first it was just a whisper, a voice too soft to make out the words, but unmistakably angry. And then, he began to talk to me. In my dreams, he would tell me how angry he was that I had disturbed his resting place, that I had found him when no one was supposed to. The worst part, he told me to kill myself. I tried to shake it off, telling myself it was just my imagination, that it was just grief or guilt playing tricks on me. But it felt so real, too real. It didn't stop there. For months, I would dream of him. Each time he would grow more insistent, more desperate. His anger, his resentment, it became clearer with every visit. He would appear in my dreams, in the shadows, his face contorted with rage. He would stand there, watching me with those empty eyes, telling me to end it all, to follow him. It's been years now, but even tonight, as I sit here, typing these words, I know that he might appear again. I can feel it. Was it just my mind playing tricks? Or was there something darker, something lingering about that place? Something about that body? The more I think about it, the more I wonder, what if he wasn't just angry? What if he had been waiting for someone to find him? I don't know if I'll ever get an answer, but one thing's for sure. Some doors once opened are not so easily closed. Some things once disturbed never truly rest.